Good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. This is a City Council special meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. It is 5:34 p.m. We're here at the Council Chambers, City Hall, 100 South Monroe Street, Eagle Pass, Maverick County, Texas. We always begin with the establishment of quorum. We do have a quorum with Mayor Pro Tem Davis, Councilman Diaz, myself, Mayor Salinas. Moment of reverence. Here we always like to pay respects to our military, people serving here and abroad, so if we can please take a moment of silence in honor of our military. Thank you very much. We do have some citizens' communications. We'll start off with Mr. Samuel Hall. And Mr. Hall, if you want to go ahead and approach the microphone. Also, Mr. Hall, one of the rules that we have is just by ordinance is that you're limited. It's not that we want to cut you off, but to 3 minutes, everybody that speaks. So.
Yes, sir. I certainly appreciate the time. I don't think this. Okay, this microphone is on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. City Council, thank you so much for having me. My name is Samuel Hall. I am the founder and president of Patriots for America. We are a Christ-centered, Christ-based organization, and what we're most well known for all over the nation is for our efforts and our ability, sacrificing our time, talent, and treasure to both expose and help rescue children out of sex trafficking. We've been down here at the border now since October of 2021 when we were called down to help out in Kenny County. Since that time, we have we've spread out to 4 different counties, being Val Verde, Kenny, Maverick County, and Uvalde. I've been in every sheriff's office, including Sheriff Schmerber, yesterday, and we had a good conversation. The emergency declaration that you called, and rightfully so, and to give you plenty of credit where credit's due, you guys have done an outstanding job actually fortifying and securing Shelby Park. From what we've seen in the last 2 years, we were the only ones helping, from a citizen standpoint, both save and help rescue children being being trafficked across the border. Now we're here on a humanitarian effort. I will say this: when we come across illegals, families, we give them food, water, we pray for them. We've put our lives on the line. We've had illegals die in our arms as we're doing CPR, all of which is well documented on Epoch Times, Fox News, NBC, the LA Times, New York Times, and everything in between. When DPS and Border Patrol didn't have any resources to save a woman holding onto barbed wire on the Texas side in Shelby Park, it was PFA that went into the river, risked our own lives to help save her life as she was in tears embracing her children at the boat ramp. So we're not here to cause a nuisance. We're not here to be in the way. We're here to be the hands and feet of Jesus Christ. But the emergency declaration that you've called, sir, has been hindering us from operating in Shelby Park. And what we would like to propose, because we have operated for 2 years as a 508c1 ministry organization, and because we have stayed on the legal constitutional side of the law, have been investigated by every FBI, ATF, Texas Rangers, DPS, and you name it, and we have not just survived these investigations, but we have thrived through them because we do things the right, legal, constitutional way. I think that militia, that term, has been demonized, and rightfully so, by predecessors that have the wrong intentions and ill content with their message and mission. PFA militia, Patriots for America militia, we are Christ-centered. We're not here to do anything but help you and your community. We're not from here. We've done 19 rotations in 24 months. Myself has been injured. We have members been injured. I had to have surgery falling off a cliff here in Eagle Pass, tracking a coyote.
That's wrong. That's your 3 minutes. We
Yes,
we thank you, sir. And it's not that we want to cut anybody off. We just have to be fair with the next speakers too.
Council, thank you so much for your time. Mr. Salinas, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. America Garcia, please.
Hello, My name's America Garcia Graywall. You know me, I've been here before. So I went to Eagle Pass High School, from elementary all the way to high school. You know my sister Rebecca, who's married to a pastor, who went to school with Eva Mireles, you know her from Uvalde, from elementary through high school. You know my sister Leah, who served as missionary in Vietnam and remains there to this day. So you know my roots here in this town. I once again am inviting you to the Board of Vigil, which will take place on Monday, November the 6th at 5:30 p.m. It's an earlier time. We mark the deaths of those who died in the river. So I would very much like to see at least 2 of you there, maybe not 3, because I know that violates the Meeting Act, but please, please join us. The other reason I'm here today is I'm asking you to follow the money. Keep your eye on the money, because that's what people outside of Eagle Pass care about. They don't care about Eagle Pass. They care about the hate that divides us. They don't care about Eagle Pass. They care about the private prisons that they have built and are building to house people who are seeking asylum, people who want a better life for themselves and their family. They don't care about stopping drugs. They just want the visuals of law enforcement escorting people to prison. They don't care about our courts and the increased caseloads. They just want us to shut up about the full cost of human misery. They don't care about our environment, our beautiful river. They just want a location shoot that makes them look tough in their re-election ads. And we had politicians fly in from Austin today so they could, show that they're being tough on crime, tough on the border. So it's a joke. They don't care about Texas. They just want donations for their re-election campaigns. They don't care about us at all. They care about money. I pray that you love this city more than you love money. I pray that you love Texas more than you love money. I pray that you love people, humanity, more than you love money. So this is a very deep experience for me. This is my hometown. This is where I'm from. Please think about the black stain that Eagle Pass is getting. We are becoming the symbol of the Holocaust that's enacting. They have Arbeit Macht Frei to show the Holocaust, and now we have Eagle Pass and our bridges to show what's happening here. So please, please, I'm asking you to tell Operation Lone Star to pack up their equipment, pack up their manpower, restore our riverbanks, and go home. So please, the world is changing. Let's change with the world and make it a safer, better place. I appreciate your time today.
Mr. Fuentes?
Honorable Judge and distinguished council members and city staff and administration. I'm here once again to advocate for the Rio Grande River. Last week I had an opportunity to go and testify in front of the state committee about Senate Bill 4 and Senate Bill 11. And I heard a lot of conversation throughout the whole day. We were there from 6 in the morning to 6:30 in the afternoon. But one of the most poignant things that I heard was one of the legislators say against another man saying, what you're trying to do is that you're trying to establish law that goes against the federal system. But he said, no, we've had our best lawyers check it out and it's set to go. We're good. But it still contradicts federal law. And the guy said, well, we're still going to introduce it and let the courts argue it out. I think I was here your last meeting. I told you that all control starts locally, and I know the state has implemented new rules like House Bill 2127 that takes a lot of the local control out. What I saw in the river after I introduced a French documentary team into there, when I picked them up, they were all crying. And they were crying because of what they saw. And I think we shouldn't become accustomed to what we don't see doesn't hurt us, because there's a lot still happening at the river that shouldn't be. And I'm just here to say that if we don't protect it at the local level, then anyone can come in and destroy it, or continue to destroy it as things are happening and walls are being built and fences are being rebuilt. So I ask that you consider regaining control of our park and restoring back the river and the banks and respecting what belongs to the community. Let us have our park. Let us take care of our river and its riverbanks, because it's for future generations that it's important about. And I ask you to consider that, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll move on to public hearings. Public hearing number 1, public hearing on the proposed final replat of Lot 1 and Block 5 of Paraíso Estate Subdivision, Unit 3, an 11.67 acre tract. Closing of public hearing and possible action. This public hearing is open at 5:45 PM. Mr. Madera?
Mayor, Council, thank you. So the first item we're going over this public hearing is for the final replat for what we call MicroStar property. That's Lot 1, Block 5 of Paraíso Estates, adding an 11.67 acre tract, merging the existing MicroStar property with additional property. And this is off of El Indio Highway. It is the existing industrial MicroStar, where the building is now, it is industrial. They have rezoned the adjacent property to also be industrial and plan to do an expansion of the business there. There are all utilities present. There's a few aerial and street views of the location off of El Indio Highway. This shows the plat existing with the additional that's going to be added, and you can see the rectangle on the screen to show the existing building and what they also propose to add. The other very important point to make here is that this does include dedication of a 100-foot right-of-way. The application does include a variance from the 2 ingress-egress for subdivisions, dedicating this right-of-way, and with the city's future plans to extend Atziwan Boulevard to this would provide them that second ingress-egress in the future. And so 20 notices were mailed to abutting property owners within a 500-feet radius. The letters were received in return. The recommendation from the department, as well as from PNZ, which we presented to, is to grant the final plat approval for replat of Lot 1, Block 5 of Paraíso Estates, and the 11.67 acre tract, subject to them complying with the provisions of City of Eagle Pass Code of Ordinances, and should also specify, and they're also recommending approval of the variance for the 2 ingress-egress.
Okay. At this time, anyone in the public that wishes to be heard on this public hearing? If not, we'll close the public hearing at 5:47 PM, and I'll entertain a motion. On this, we have a motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Diaz. All in favor? Unanimous. Number 2, public hearing on the proposed preliminary replat of Lot C and Block 13 of Fabrica Townsite. Closing of public hearing and possible action. This public hearing is open at 5:47 PM.
Thank
Ms.
you, Mayor.
Maribel?
So what you have before you is a replat application submitted by Jackson Engineering. Property located at 1736 Dr. Gates Street in the ETJ. The request is for the preliminary replat approval to subdivide an approximately 8.8640 acre tract into 2 residential lots. Parcel size is 37,635 square feet. Here you have some site photos and a vicinity map. Here you have the plat drawing and the zoomed in screenshot of the parcel that's being subdivided. We sent out 58 notices to the abutting property owners, and we didn't receive any in favor or in opposition. And one detail to note is that the plat will be, or the plat should show a note that requires the sidewalk to be constructed along Dr. Gates Road at the time of the building or development of the lots. So the recommendation for Planning and Zoning Commission is that City Council grant preliminary plat approval of the proposed replat of Lot C in Block 13 of Fabrica Townsite, subject to the plat complying with the provisions of Article 3 of the City of Eagle Pass Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Governing Procedures and Specifications for Planning and Plats. And that
Okay.
completes the report.
Thank you. anyone in the public have any comments on this item? Council? If not, we'll close the public hearing at 5:49 PM, and I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Diaz and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous. Item 3, public hearing and introductory ordinance on the rezone request submitted by Cedia E. Felix for the rezoning of Lot 10A in Block 12 of Hillcrest Addition, also known as 164 Medina Street, from R3 Duplex District to R3A Apartment District. Closing of public hearing on possible action. We will open this public hearing at 5:50 PM.
Thank you, Mayor. So what you have before you is a rezone application submitted by Cedia E. Felix, location at 164 Medina Street. The request is to rezone parcel from R3 Duplex District to R3A Apartment District to allow for the construction of 4 two-bedroom apartments. Parcel size is 8,112 square feet. Current zoning, again, R3. Current use is vacant and undeveloped, and it's being, again, proposed to construct a set of apartments. The site is in an area that is compromised of single-family dwellings and multi-family uses as well. Access to the site is provided by Medina Street, and here you have a screenshot of the lot. Here you have an aerial map showing other R3 or parcels, properties zoned as R3A as well. Here you have the zoning map and our master plan. We sent out 28 notices, and we received 1 letter as undeliverable. And so the recommendation is that City Council prepare and adopt an ordinance granting a zoning district change from R3 to R3A for property legally known as 164 Medina Street, with the condition that they comply with building codes.
Okay.
And that completes the report.
Thank you. Anyone in the public have any comments on this item? Council? This already went to planning and zoning.
It was approved yesterday.
Okay.
And we do have the applicants here in case they want to address the
Is this, I'm looking at the pictures that you have, like if there's an apartment next door and then there's a house, is it next to the house or is it the actual house? Or what?
That's a house right next door.
Behind that lot, Mr. Davis, it's, there's a house, but then it's a fourplex, that it's on Concha Street. And then a block from there, I believe there's
And then
another
the
one.
like right there on the hill, so that's a fourplex?
Yes,
Yes, it's this one right here, the corner, the one that
That's
you're
the
talking
one.
about.
That's a fourplex.
yeah, the one where Green Company
More this one.
is behind it,
Right.
Or
yeah.
the fourplex. This one here is a fourplex, if I'm not mistaken, and then this here is a duplex. And this was brought to you all, not too long ago,
Yeah,
and
and then
this
the
one
big
too.
building, the big square one on the corner next to the red,
This one,
that's
or
like,
the Medina Apartments.
that's more than 4, right? Up in-
Two-story.
okay, that's what I'm looking at here
Oh,
on the pictures. I'm looking at the side photo that you provided.
And if
So
not
it's next
mistaken,
to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you have the apartments, then this house here,
That's what I'm saying, the house,
And
and
then
then it's
the-
next to the house.
yes.
Right.
It says on one of the pictures that the arrow's pointing like at the house, and like, that's what threw me off.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
there's
just a-
already
It's just
multi-
an addressing, it's,
There's already similar.
yes.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much in there, there's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're long, long lots, so they can do duplex
Okay.
very easily.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, let's go ahead and close the public hearing at 5:53 PM. And we do have a motion to approve the recommendation by Councilman Diaz and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous. 4,
I'm present now.
yes.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Cruz is present. Public hearing on an introductory ordinance on the rezone request submitted by Cedia E. Felix for the rezoning of Lot 1 and Lot 19 in Block 26 of Hillcrest Addition, also known as 388 Trinity Street, from R1 First One Family Dwelling District to R3 Duplex District. Closing of public hearing and possible action. This public hearing is open at 5:54 PM.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
before I go to the general information, this is the site parcel.
Mhm.
So again, another rezone application submitted by Ms. Felix, property owner being South Texas Legal Aid LLC, location at 388 Trinity Street. The request is to rezone the parcel from R1 Single Family Dwelling District to R3 Duplex District to allow for the construction of a duplex. Currently, it's vacant and undeveloped, and the proposed use, again, to construct a duplex dwelling. Property has access through Trinity Street. Here you have the subject lot, again vacant. And these are two of the properties in the vicinity that are, this one here is a duplex, and this one here is more of a, well, it's a duplex as well.
Right.
Here you have the master plan and our zoning map. We send out 23 notices to the abutting property owners, and we received 2 in return as undeliverable. The recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission and also from the Planning Department is that council prepare and adopt an ordinance granting zoning district change from R1 to R3 for property legally known as 388 Trinity Street, subject to the property complying with our building codes once the construction begins.
Okay. Any comments from the public? If not, we'll close the public hearing. I'm sorry, please.
Yes, I have a comment about that, and because,
I totally missed you.
my name is Juliet Martinez, and I live in Hillcrest Boulevard, just above where the lot is located. And I have a concern about that because that property is behind that is like a cliff. So safety-wise, in the future, I don't know how a building can survive any, maybe erosion, because of climate change also. And that's my concern.
You said your property is next to this proposed duplex?
I live in the Hillcrest in the
Okay,
top.
okay.
And
This is right here.
the property is right below the cliff.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I got you.
So that's just my concern. I've seen that property and I've seen people going there and checking that property. I don't know, maybe the owner. And I noticed that it says undeveloped also.
Okay.
I just wanted to make that concern about the safety of whoever, or whatever is going to be built in that property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is my notice.
Have you looked at that concern?
We did check, and it's not in the floodway.
Okay.
All that is also considered at the time of the plan review, but I did check, and it's not in the floodway.
Gotcha. Anybody else that have, yes, sir?
Then, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
As a rebuttal to the argument that was stated earlier, this lot is connected between the streets of Trinity and Hillcrest. It is a log property. Therefore, the cliff that is spoken, it is in the back of the property. However, the property is long enough to where the housing can still maintain the restrictions, the construction restrictions, and not be affected by the cliff in the back. So it is something that we had seen. We have talked to 2 construction companies about that, about making a retention well, but since the construction that's going to be, that's planned for that lot is nowhere near, it should not be affected by anything. Plus, this is a cliff that has been there and won't be affected by the construction.
Okay.
As a disclosure, because I'm familiar with that lot, it is true. You have a lot of space and it's flat on the Trinity side. The problem is if you wanted to build something next to the Hillcrest area and having the access through Hillcrest, it's almost impossible.
Correct.
But on the front side, it's fine. Just be aware that there's like a natural spring on the back of the property. I mean, but just before construction, so that you can take all that into consideration. It can be done, I mean, it can be resolved with a French drain or some other things. I mean, but just to keep that in mind for the safety of the foundation.
Yes.
But on the front, it didn't seem like it had any. But just because I'm familiar with it, and I felt the necessity of disclosing it.
Thank you.
And just for the record, can you state your full name?
Yes, my name's Javier Fernando Tobias.
Thank you, Mr. Torres.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comments? Council? If not, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6 PM, and I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Diaz,
I'll second.
second by Councilwoman Cruz. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous. Item 5, public hearing on introductory ordinance on the rezone request submitted by Cydia E. Felix for the rezoning of lots 9 and 10 in Block 10 of North Heights, Unit 2, also known as 1001 Webster Street, from R1 First One Family Dwelling District to R3 Duplex District. Closing of public hearing and possible action. This public hearing is open at 6 PM.
Yes, Mayor, Council, thank you. So this is another application for a rezone. This one is from an R1 Single One Family Dwelling District to an R3 Duplex District, which will allow for 2 dwellings per legal lot. The parcel size is 14,000 square feet, so it's a fairly large lot per city standards. It's a fully developed area with homes around it, other residential area around it, and all utilities provided. Here's some views, street views from Second Street, just before it curves to Ceylon, in between Del Rio Boulevard and Ceylon. Here's an aerial view, and as you can see, the red icon shows where this particular property is. On the north side of Second Street, on the south, there are some multifamily, some duplex in the vicinity.
There's already a structure there, right?
There is a structure, I believe it was kind of described like cottage, is that roughly? Yeah.
Okay.
So there is a structure on this property. And the applicant is here for this item in case there's questions for them. So the difference with this one, I see compared to the other 2 applications is I guess the nature of the homes on the north side are, on this, like this one, 14,000 square feet. There's some larger lots, larger single family, no duplex or multifamily on that side. So there is a bit of a difference in the character of the properties on that side of Second Street, although in the vicinity across, we do have some more typical 50 by 150 type size residential, and we do have some duplex. We did receive 3 letters in opposition for this and sending out 18 notices to the vicinity, to the neighbors within the 200-foot radius. The letters, they have 2 check boxes, whether in favor or opposed, and then there's another section for adding commentary. So 2 of them were just checked opposed with no commentary, and the other one, the third one, was checked in opposition, and the commentary stated, I strongly oppose this rezone. But none of them explained or gave the reasoning for it, so we don't have any additional details about that. We don't have like phone numbers for these. We send these out through letter and they respond to us. So unfortunately, we don't have more detail exactly of what the sentiments were on those 3 oppositions. We did take this to P&Z, and although this one is, a more difficult decision, overall we lean to recommending approval. P&Z agreed with that and recommended approval for this rezone from R1 to R3, which again allows for a maximum of 2 units on the property, and that would be, as always, subject to them complying with all city of Eagle Pass code of ordinances.
The existing structure is going to be left and we're going to rebuild, or is,
The way it was explained is they want to maintain the existing structure. We do have the applicants here if you'd like to, I guess, hear more about those details.
Sure, because Yeah. That's a very old structure, right?
It is.
That's the bonnet.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can I speak to you
Sure.
in Spanish?
Yeah.
Sí. Sí está muy viejita, pero no se le mete el agua. Es raro,
bien.
¿verdad? Ya la he ido a ver y no hay agua adentro.
Okay.
Me gustaría mucho conservar el edificio ese, ¿verdad? Rehacerlo, obviamente, porque, pues, la verdad es que sí entras y da miedo, ¿verdad? Algunas partes tiene fundación, otras partes no, pero me gusta mucho, a pesar de que no está en la parte histórica, pues es un edificio histórico, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Es un antiguo cottage. Ayer les explicaba, pues para mí esto realmente es el sueño de mi vida, ¿verdad? Siempre he querido poder trabajar en mi propio autorretiro. Tengo 2 hijos, me gustaría poderles, o sea, dejar algo, ¿verdad? En algún momento, y pues estoy enamorada de ese terreno, o sea, a pesar de que hay esas 3 cartas, no es mi intención ni destruir los árboles, ni hacer algo feo, al contrario, ¿verdad? Tranquilamente puedo ver a alguno de mis hijos viviendo ahí y pues haciendo algo para el futuro, ¿verdad?
Okay. Muy bien. Gracias. Any comments? Oh, you already gave your recommendation, right?
Yeah, one thing I did fail to mention and point out is just the zoning, and so we do have, to the west or closer to the Rio Grande side, you can see the darker coloration of the parcels, that's, duplex district, all that, and then the yellow, I guess you could see maybe a channel of residential where this one is, and then a little bit further, to the east, we have some more, so there's, in the vicinity, large sections of duplex district, but, only a few scattered in between in this particular area.
Right.
Just wanted to point that out.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing further, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing at 6:06 p.m. and I'll entertain a motion. We have a motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Diaz. Discussion. All in favor? Unanimous. All right. Okay.
Nice improvement.
Yes.
Very neat.
Absolutely. It's always good when you turn something old to something new and improved, so. Yeah,
Thank you.
yes. There's actually a lot of abandoned homes downtown. I wish people would do that with all the homes. So, the next items are items 6 through 10. These are consent agenda items. At this time, I'll ask if anyone wants to remove any one of these items to discuss them individually. 6 through 10. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them. It's either or. Okay, we approve them?
I'll make a motion to
We
approve.
have a motion to approve by Councilman Diaz. Well,
Yeah,
second by Councilwoman Cruz. Discussion? Well, it has to be unanimous, this one, because it's a consent. Unanimous. 11, consideration and possible approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 7 Bicycles, Article 2, Section 7-16 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Eagle Pass, Texas, by allowing the operation of motor-assisted scooters by a person 16 years of age or older on sidewalks or on streets with a speed limit of 35 miles per hour or less, establishing a fine, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law, providing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
Yes, Mayor, I apologize, the screen's kind of giving a blurry look there, but this is a little more clear. So this item is discussing an ordinance that essentially bans electric scooters in the city. And so I'll read the exact ordinance 7-16. It says it's unlawful for a person to operate a ride a motor-assisted scooter on any highway, street, public road, walk, sidewalk, municipal park, or public place within the city except on paths and trails set aside for their use. And while we are working at a bike lane program that we are excited about in the near future, there are no other areas. So essentially this means there's nowhere that an electric scooter would be allowed at this point. And B just states this prohibition is necessary in the interest of safety. So that's the ordinance as it reads today. Some key considerations on this topic of revisiting or reviewing this ordinance. There is a major trend nationally where alternative modes of transportation are getting a lot more popularity. Active transportation is like bicycles and different things that require a person to be active in that. are gaining a lot of popularity, affordability with just inflation and a lot of things. People are looking for more affordable ways to get around town, to work, to school, things like that. And then green initiatives, quote unquote, healthier, less carbon footprint or things like that, forget the term for charcoal, coal and various
Carbon.
less carbon, yeah, there you go. So, these are, the e-scooter is something kind of fits in with a lot of those trends. And the federal and state government has also started providing a lot more funding, grant programs for initiatives for this type of projects and infrastructure for it. Safety is a key consideration here, and we have received input from police department, Chief Garza, on potential, the risk of a person on a scooter or to get in a traffic accident with vehicles or other traffic, as well as potential issues with infrastructure. If there's, say, a crack on the sidewalk or something and they don't see it and could potentially fall or have an accident due to that type of issue. Another thing, we tend to complain about our climate a lot and our weather being very hot, but in going to a conference on bicycles, on Texas transportation, sorry, I don't remember the exact name of that particular conference, but it was basically on alternative transportation, bikes and things like that. A lot of the people I was talking to from other places around the country were jealous of our weather. They said, well, we would love to trade places with you any day, not having the rain and not having the ice and not having, there's certain weather where you really can't do bicycles.
They
or
want
this type of thing.
110 degrees.
Maybe they don't know what it feels like, so that's why they said that, but they said essentially, you can get from place to place in 15 minutes, yeah, a little sweat is okay, but when it's raining, you really can't, you'll be soaked getting
Right.
or ice, you just can't. So, so that was something I learned and was a little surprised about, that our climate is actually, more suitable or even ideal for some people in terms of alternative transportation. Another thing that's shown here with the map is the small geographic area. It's a measurement from the top portion of the city boundaries to the bottom. It's just over 3 miles, so we have a fairly small and condensed city limit area where you could really get across town. 3 miles is not a short walk, but even walking is doable for many people to be able to make that. So with a scooter or bicycle, you can really get across town if you have that type of transport and the infrastructure, good infrastructure there for you to use and get across town. Infrastructure conditions is an important thing, and Chief Garza did point that out and that is something we're addressing already. The council has approved and continues to support funding every year for us to add sidewalks and improve on, like this project we're working on, a bike lane on 2nd Street and Bibb area. And so we hope to continue to add more safe infrastructure where people can feel comfortable using this type of mode of transportation. And then the other thing is that we don't have a lot of, it's not popular really at this time for people to walk and get around in ways other than using a vehicle. So our sidewalks are open really for use. If we had a lot of people walking on them, then we would, I think, need to be more concerned about bicycles or scooters being on them. But in this case, I think we want to promote any type of use of the sidewalks. And then in the future, if it gets congested, we may need to revisit bicycles or other things being on there. But at this point, there's not a lot of use, and I think people who do use bicycles or scooters feel safer being on the sidewalks. A couple of the key notable changes that are within this draft amendment for your consideration is that, would be with allowing scooters with these various conditions I'll point out. Gas motor with a displacement not exceeding 40 cubic centimeters, 40 cc's, or a electric motor not exceeding 2,000 watts. And really that's just kind of saying the power, so it's not too fast. And I think something that we don't have in there right now, but I saw in reviewing some more other cities, they have some speed limits for scooters on sidewalks where you're potentially with pedestrian and not wanting to go too fast around pedestrians. So we may consider also a sidewalk speed limit. Ability to be propelled by human power alone, so it doesn't need to be a scooter that could be propelled by the person. Riders must always yield to pedestrians. Riders must use bike lanes when available. In the absence of bike lanes, riders may ride on streets which have a speed limit of 35 miles per hour or less. and on sidewalks, including a sidewalk adjacent to roads which have a speed limit over 35 miles per hour. Riders must obey all state and city traffic laws and ordinances applicable to the operator of a vehicle. If ridden on a sidewalk, riders must maintain a distance of 2 feet from all pedestrians. Persons operating or in control of a scooter must be at least 16 years of age. And this is the third page of the conditions. Riders may not have any passengers, and I've seen this in many other cities that they have explicitly banned multiple people getting on there because the scooters really weren't meant for that and it could cause accidents. Wearing of a helmet is encouraged. It is difficult, while we may want to try to require it, but even up to motorcycles, there's a few states that don't require helmets for motorcycles, and Texas has a couple of exemptions where you makes it very easy that you don't even need a helmet for a motorcycle, so for bikes or scooters, it would also be difficult to require that. A couple more points here. Operates a motor-assisted scooter on a street, highway. Oh, here, would be a person commits an offense if they operate a scooter on a street or highway with a speed limit over 35 miles an hour. They knowingly fail to, as a parent of a child or guardian allows somebody under 15 to use a motor-assisted scooter, operates a motor-assisted scooter which has been mechanically altered from the original manufacturing design, and a couple of mental states not required for an offense under these subsections. We did get a lot of help and assistance from our legal, Mrs. Garcia researched other cities and helped provide a lot of these terms and points here based on what she found from other. I did get a couple of photos. I think, sometimes you may think, well, is this even needed? Does anybody even ride scooters? But
I've seen it.
If you're around City Hall, Garrison's probably one of the most popular places, and we see scooters throughout the day, several a day. And so got a few photos of people. This on the left is, I was a little surprised over here. I don't see as many there. This is outside of Veterans Boulevard going towards like CC Wynn,
Yeah.
going north. And then Garrison and Main Street. And this was an interesting one on the right, the same young man. And I was really surprised as I was driving, I came across him all the way by Veterans Boulevard. And we ended up, by the time I pulled in here to City Hall, he was coming right behind me. So while following all the traffic ordinances, I saw him happen to be stopped at the light on Bibb and Main. He stopped to do the pedestrian crossing and waited for that.
Yeah.
And so following all traffic rules, he got here at the same time as I did driving a vehicle. So that was also something I was not expecting. But
Efficient.
it's a very efficient way to get around. I saw that firsthand. And so I want to just quickly point out again, I mentioned we're working on bike lane project and connectivity, alternative transportation in the Bibb 2nd Street area around Eagle Pass High School and Junior High. We hope that's a good pilot, and then we expand from there in other areas of town to allow designated and safer areas for this type of methods of transportation to get around town. And so, while there are, again, some risks, and again, Chief Garza did point out some of these things that are very important, we do see this as, we do recommend this as a good change in allowing or removing this ban of e-scooters with these specifications here that try to address those safety concerns.
Can you go back 2 slides? One more. That's because it was one of the ones that I was trying to read and then you switched. It was something about this operating on a certain things going on. Is there something about you had said about the greater than 35 miles? Are they allowed to or not? Or that's what I.
It would be an offense to ride a scooter on the street.
Well, that's Garrison Street, but they're on the sidewalk.
So on the
Is that
sidewalk,
okay?
it would be, yes.
Okay, that's what you went sort of fast and I was like, oh, when I wasn't sure I caught it. Okay.
You're seeing more and more, and we should have an ordinance like this one. I think it's needed. But
I think we should have that flexibility. I mean, I know I've seen them out there, and I know that's probably the only method of, or mode of transportation that some of these people have to get to work, and some of them are taking them to school.
right.
So that's a really good point to bring up. One of the things here is age of 16 or over. So looking at the school aspect, does that seem appropriate, or do you think, like, say, a junior high student should also be able
I haven't
to?
seen them there. We've just seen them at the high school.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just high schools.
I've seen them at both high schools.
16 is reasonable.
And the reason we put 16 was because that's the age that they could work, and a lot of these people are using them to get to work, so that's why we said 16.
Makes sense. If anyone's ready?
Can we do 14?
14.
For middle?
Oh, man.
Graders, they live around the vicinity,
Yes, we can change it.
I'm okay with 14.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
I
Wait.
mean,
Oh, there we go.
I mean, that's where you're just putting the burden back on the parent. Yeah.
Right.
Take on those,
So
to make sure that they're instructed on the safety, that's so,
for the fine, what are we fining? Are we fining the age? So the agenda, or the speed?
Being on
So-
a road that they're not, oh, you wanna go ahead?
So for the fines, it's if they're riding on the street that is over 35 miles per hour or higher speed limit, and if they are, also for the age, if they
We're
are
fining for the age?
Yes.
Okay.
under the age, that whatever age you all agree.
Okay. So, you want to make the motion? Go for it. It's okay. You have a motion to approve with the change? Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Garcia and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. It's the motion to approve with the only change from 16 to 14. Discussion? All in favor?
If I can ask one more
Discussion.
detail about speed limit on sidewalks. I did see that that's something, some cities are looking at a slower speed. Look, let's say the road is 30 miles an hour, but if you're gonna ride on a sidewalk, they sometimes lower the max scooter speed, so you're not zooming by a potential pedestrian, so. that
You
was one
had
thing I wanted-
15. 15 is reasonable.
I did see another city was using that. We could research it some more to see if that's kind of a standard for that, but should we place that for the second reading?
Yeah, place that
Yeah.
for the second,
We'll bring
do
up
some
more.
research at
Okay.
15 or 20,
We'll do that.
As amended?
as amended, yes. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
12, consideration and possible approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Eagle Pass, Texas, nominating Mayor Pro Tem William W. Davis to the Board of Directors of the Maverick County Appraisal District. Do we have a motion to approve Mr. Davis? We do, by Councilman Garcia,
I'll second.
second by Councilman Diaz. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous. 13. Yeah. Presentation and possible approval of the City of Eagle Pass audited financial report, management letter, single audit supplement, and the governance letter for fiscal year ended September 30th, 2022, as conducted by the firm of Carr, Riggs, and Ingram LLP.
Yes, Mayor, Council. Mr. Jonathan Hall is on the screen, should be on the screen. Let me check with the media.
Sitting for too long, I think.
Mr. Hall, how are you, sir?
Hey, good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can.
All right, excellent, excellent. So thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council for having me. My name is Jonathan Hall. I'm a partner with Carr, Riggs, and Ingram. And I have a presentation. I'm going to share my screen. So let me know, are you seeing the slideshow right now?
Yes, yes, we also have a copy of it, so.
Okay, excellent. Yes, so so I apologize that I'm not able to be there in person, and also that these reports were delivered to your possession earlier this afternoon. But they are marked draft, and I'm going to present to you the audit report as drafted. We do expect to wrap this up within the next few days, so there shouldn't really be any changes to the audit results with the numbers. So we wanted to go ahead and get this in front of you since it is already late for this audit.
Okay.
So We've audited the basic financial statements of the primary government, which include the governmental activities, general government, public safety, highways and streets, sanitation, culture and recreation, the business type activities, which include the refuse collection system, the international bridge system, and the aggregate discretely presented component units, which is the City of Eagle Pass Waterworks, which were actually audited by a component auditor that was not us. So in reference to numbers presented for the waterworks, our audit report is relying on the report that was issued by the component auditor. So there's 3 reports that have been issued in the bound audit report. The first one on page 1 is the independent auditor's report. On page 86, there's an independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. That report does not include an opinion. And on page 90, there's a report, independent auditor's report on compliance for major federal programs and on internal control over compliance required by the uniform guidance, which includes an opinion on compliance. So we've issued 2 opinions, one on the financial statements and one on compliance with federal grant program. And on page 96 of the report is the schedule of findings and question costs, and a little later I'll show you an excerpt from that page, which is a good summary of the actual audit results from us. So the independent auditor's report is on page 1, and I have an excerpt here of the audit opinion, the first paragraph section that is the opinions, which our objective as auditors is to audit the financial statements, and our product is the audit opinion. The financial statements are the product of management and the books and records that are produced by the finance department, and Jesse and his team have, they worked hard with us to get this all compiled and ready to go, and so we give a lot of thanks to them for working with us throughout that process. But this audit opinion is essentially saying that we've audited the accompanying financial statements of the governmental activities, the business type activities, the aggregate discretely presented component unit, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information in City of Eagle Pass as of for the year ended September 30th, 2022, and related notes to the financial statements. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, business type activities, the component unit, each major fund, and the remaining fund information of the city, and the respective changes in financial position for the year that, in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. That's what we would call an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion, which is what you want to have. This means that the financial information in the report is usable and reliable for the purposes under GAAP. And so you can read it and have some confidence that it's presenting correct information to you. It's not a statement about the quality of the financial condition. So I'm not going to read from the rest of the auditor's report other than just to say that the report goes on from pages 1 to 7, and the sections in there are going to talk about, the basis for our audit opinion is, an audit is a collection of evidence, and we have to abide by professional standards and collect evidence to support our audit opinion. We believe our audit evidence that we've collected is sufficient to render our audit opinion. It's an emphasis on the responsibilities of management for the financial statements, which is to prepare the financial statements and to maintain internal control for preventing and detecting fraud or errors in the financial records. And then, of course, our responsibilities as auditors, and goes at length describing the types of considerations that we have put into our audit procedures and the professional responsibilities that we have. And the second opinion that we've given, which I referenced in the first slide, is an opinion on the major federal program for the city, which is that we have audited the City of Eagle Pass compliance with the compliance requirements as identified as subject to audit in the OMB compliance supplement that would have a direct material effect on each of the City of Eagle Pass major federal programs for the year ended September 30, 2022. City of Eagle Pass major federal programs are identified in the summary of auditor results in the section of the accompanying schedule of findings and question costs. In our opinion, the City of Eagle Pass, Texas complied in all material respects with the types of compliance requirements referred to above that could have a direct material effect on each of its major federal programs for the year ended September 30, 2022. So this is just like our audit opinion on the financial statements. It's talking about the financial information in the financial statements themselves. This is in reference to compliance, and in our opinion, you comply with the material requirements of the major program, which is the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund is the program that we audited this year. You can see that on the bottom of this page. This is the schedule of findings and question costs that I mentioned.
What page
This
are
is
you
a good
on?
one-page summary of the audit results. So there it says on top, type of auditor's reports issued on the financial statements, unmodified, on the federal awards, audit report issued on compliance, unmodified, and that those are the types of audit opinions you would like to receive. There are a couple of findings that are disclosed in this report.
One second, Mr. Hall, we have a question by Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying to
We're trying to figure it out. I see him going through it. I see you.
we're trying to follow.
Yeah.
It's this one.
But that's the actual full report. He's going through the specific pages that highlight the major areas.
Okay.
Yeah, my apologies. My apologies. Let me go back a few slides real quick. So if you can see the slide right here, I'm just kind of summarizing the reports that we have.
Okay.
This auditor.
Gotcha.
Right. So page 1 of the bound report that you received is the first independent auditor's report that I went through. Page
Right.
86 is there's no opinion. That's a report in reference to government auditing standards and whether we have and our work on compliance with laws and regulations and whether we had internal control matters to disclose. On page 90 is the report on federal grant compliance, and then 96 is kind of the summary of what's contained in all the auditor's reports, the schedule of findings and question costs. And so back over here on that schedule of findings and question costs, you can see that we had an unmodified opinion on the financial statement, and that's page 96 of the report, and an unmodified opinion on compliance, but we did have some findings. And so that's the summary of our audit results, and I'll just kind of briefly mention what those findings were. They're there behind page 96. You can read the details of them, but the first one has to do with capital asset accounting, and we had to post an adjustment to the beginning balance pertaining to capital assets, and there was a little bit of difficulty in rolling the records, the subsidiary records from the prior audit. And the second finding has to do with the balances due between the city and the City of Eagle Pass Waterworks, which there were some adjustments required to correct those amounts. And then the third item, which the third finding, which is on page 99, is a significant deficiency, which is noted here as yes, for significant deficiencies. And that one has to do with the method of amortizing bond premium in the long-term debt balances. So not intending to go into the detail of what all of that entails, but that's what the finding is related to. And these are financial reporting findings, right? These aren't indicative of major process control breaks or anything like that. And then, so that's the summary of our audit report. So just to kind of recap, like I said, we had 3 reports: the independent auditor's report on the financial statements, and then we had the report on compliance to government auditing standards, and the opinion on federal grant compliance. And we had clean opinions in all of those areas. So I'm going to take you through some financial highlights. And on these slides, because the report is so big, right, I try to present to you some condensed information, right, and pull together some information from the prior audited financial statements as well, so you can look at it in reference to the prior year and kind of visually see where you're at. On each of these slides, I'm going to say what page number the data is coming from. Right, so this first slide is coming from page 21, and it's from the statement of net position. So this is just an overall overview of the primary government assets and deferred outflows, liabilities, and deferred inflows and net positions. This is all all the activities of the government aggregated together, except for not including the Eagle Pass Waterworks. And so you have your assets are about 161 million, liabilities deferred inflows about 93 million, and net position is 67.7 million. That's pretty comparable to prior year. And if you happen to turn to page 21, you'll see that your net position, which is the excess of your assets over liabilities, the bulk of that is net investment in capital assets. Right? It's not a spendable resource necessarily, but you still have a $19.4 million unrestricted net position balance. So indicative of a positive trend in your financial health. Here's an analysis of your governmental activities revenue. And you can see some of your biggest revenue sources and comparative to the prior year. The biggest changes would have been intergovernmental, which is your grants. You got a lot more grant revenue recognized in the 2022 year. And just like a lot of municipalities in the state, you had increases in taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, and all around, and otherwise more or less comparable to the prior year. For your capital assets and long-term debt, you can see that capital assets are pretty much steady. Continue to invest a lot in that area. Have a lot of ongoing construction projects, but you also have depreciation, and so the net is a little bit of a decrease in the net balance. Your long-term debt, continue to pay that down, and so that's decreasing. You still have a positive change in net position for the current year, so that's good.
Sir, excuse me, I'm reading on page 97, there's a material weaknesses in internal control, and you mentioned the capital asset accounting.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit more on that, please?
Yeah, so the issue with that one, the biggest issue, there were a few things, but the biggest issue was that we had a adjusting entry to correct the beginning balance in construction in progress, because there was let me find the page quick. So we had, you go to page 50.
I'm on page 97.
Yeah, sorry about that. There's this disclosed on page 50 about a prior period restatement, right? And part of that has to do with the capital assets. And what happened is that there was amounts that had been capitalized in prior years for which we couldn't substantiate that they were what assets they were associated with. And so in reviewing it and going over it with the city and the finance director, the determination was made that those had to be removed. And so, and then there was also some of the fixed asset schedules, we couldn't tie them and balance them to the prior audited report initially. And so the nature of the finding is to say that there's a need to fully review all those balances every year, make sure they're correct, and make sure the subsidiary ledger matches the audit. So that's what we're trying to say with that finding. So it's not if your concern is that whether items were misspent or anything like that, it's not a finding of that nature.
You can proceed.
So on this slide, this is just a revenue comparison in the primary government. You can see, a pretty big increase in revenues in the governmental activities and in the business type activities, which the business type includes the bridge and the refuse collection, and the big increase in your business type had to do with, compared to fiscal 2021, you had a lot more activity in the bridge, right? During 2021, the bridge would have had a lot less traffic because of, reduced travel from COVID and things like that. In 2022, that kind of relieved itself. And then in the governmental activity side, a lot of that has to do with grants. And the revenue and expense analysis for business type activities, again, this is kind of just showing where you're at in terms of total revenues are 22.3 million for the current year and about 8 million last year. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, you had a big increase in revenues due to, in getting back to normal activity, really comparable expense-wise. So that's good for your financial condition. This is a chart that breaks down how the expenses are allocated across the city for the governmental activities. The biggest components of your spending are on public safety and on general government and on culture and recreation. Those are the biggest categories. It's pretty consistent year to year. In terms of all of your governmental funds together, you have total revenues this year of 30.3 million compared to 23.4 million in the prior year. Expenditures are 47 million and an ending fund balance of 50.9 million. And then other financing sources, which is primarily transfers in this case, this is governmental funds. So the bridge fund and mainly the bridge fund are transferring amounts into the governmental funds. So with all those transfers, you had a little bit more expenditures than you had revenues. And the reason for that is these are all your governmental funds, and you have included with that, if you're on page 29, which is what's referenced on this slide, some of those funds are your capital improvement funds, right? And those funds don't generate revenue; they just spend the dollars that they've already got from prior bond issuances for the projects that they were issued for. So in terms of total governmental funds, you would expect to continue to see probably a little decrease because you continue to spend those dollars. In your general fund, this current year you had $17 million of revenue, 15.4 million in the prior year, 25.4 million of expenditures, and yet your fund balance went from about 7 million last year to 7.7 million this year. And the reason for that is, again, because of the transfers that I mentioned, they're coming from the bridge. So if you were to look at the general fund, on page 29, and if you look at the general fund column, you'll see that there was a transfer in of, net transfers of about $9 million to increase the fund balance of the general fund. So overall, if you look at the general fund, your fund balance this way, you have $7.7 million. You spent $25 million. You have about 3.5 months worth of fund balance. So usually we say a 3-month fund balance is a good healthy target. So you guys are there. So here's some summarized information on the refuse collection fund, which had a little bit of an increase in net position because you had revenues exceeding expenses in the current year. And so, 6.4 million revenue compared to 5.5 million of expenses. The International Bridge, you have, a lot more revenues than you have expenses, and it's pretty, like I mentioned before, you had a significant increase in the revenue compared to 2021, and about a break even on your net position because most of the excess gets transferred out to the general fund or other funds. And this is the component unit, just to kind of show you where that's at, the waterworks system. this year had 16, almost 16.4 million in revenues, 15.5 in expenses, 113 million in net position. And this comes from pages 22 and 23 of the report. That if you were if you're looking at your net position in the waterworks, about 98.5 million of that is invested in capital assets. The rest is unrestricted. So, but still having a positive change there. So that's a good trend to have. And that's kind of a fast overview of the financial results and our audit report. If you in terms of reading through the report, I would recommend at least reading the front section of the report, which is the management's discussion and analysis. It gives a good comprehensive overview of what's in the financial statements, what changes occurred during the fiscal year. It's management's discussion and analysis of the content of the report. And so with that, that's the audit report. The other document that you should have received is a letter that's called Required Communications for City Council. We're required under professional standards to communicate with you certain things, and so this packet is about 25 pages. It accomplishes that objective of communicating those things to you. Many of the required communications I've already accomplished by going over the report with you and reading to you our audit opinion and our responsibilities as auditors. And so this packet goes, in deeper length about all those matters. But, if we had any disagreements with management, which we did not, it would be in here. If there was any, major other issues or unusual items to disclose, we'll talk about it in here. And there's a copy of the management representation letter, a copy of the adjusting entries. There's a discussion about the significant estimates. And there's also a list of there are some other advisory comments that we've put in the back of this letter that we've gone over with management and they're aware of. But there's none of them that rose to the level of being a finding in the report itself. So that's what that document is for.
This is just for information, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, it's for information, and there are advisory comments like I mentioned in the back there, and it's to disclose all those matters to you as the governing body of the city.
Yeah, the report can be changed by council, but it's pretty much to accept the report.
Right. That's because I didn't
Yeah,
have
I
a
know,
chance.
It's a lot of information.
It's a
you know,
lot.
It's like with the budget, right?
It's a lot of information. I mean,
And so,
I probably process 5%. Yeah. Yeah.
And I know it is a lot, sir. These reports are there's a lot of information contained in them. I'll try to present a condensed set of highlights for you in that presentation.
So these are the findings. Any questions? Not, the motion would be to accept, huh?
So unfortunately, we did have a kickoff with this cycle. We did start in about February of this year when we typically start about October. This year it's starting, with our close of the year. It's usually around this time, early November. So once this one's good to go, we have the audit contract. This one will start on time. So we should be okay with the next presentation of the audit.
So it wasn't on them, right?
I'm sorry?
It wasn't on them that they were late?
No, not necessarily. It was a late start.
It was basically, since we got a new company, so it was the transition of one company and getting the contract ready for them to allow them to start work.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, if I may, like Jesse said, the findings are the findings. So whatever they did the audit, the evaluation, so they provided the findings. But if you need more information, you can of course, ask us to meet with us individually, or if you want to reach out to him, just so we can explain as to what is included on the content
Absolutely.
of the
Yeah.
audit.
I have some questions, but I'll ask you. With that said, do we have a motion just to accept?
Just to accept, yes, because there can be no change
Right.
to it. It's basically their opinion of the operations, financial operations of the city, so that's their opinion being reflected on this.
Any motion? We have a motion to accept the audit by Councilman Garcia.
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Cruz. Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Audit is accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
14, presentation, discussion, and possible action on capital improvement projects.
Sorry, forgot that was next. So before we kick off, we would like to take this item into executive session.
Yes.
We do a brief presentation. We do have some legal items that we want to discuss, procedural items when it comes to CIP. I want to go over a couple of basics before then. So kind of wanted to recap on what's ongoing right now. So the projects that we currently have funding for, that are in some phase, whether design or construction, are the Riskin Building, the Hike and Bike Trail, storm drainage, the ICT HVAC and roof improvements, international bridge improvements, which a large component of that will be the realignment project, the gymnasium, the former Boys and Girls Club, the Public Works Building, Via Romel Park, and the downtown projects that we discussed on the Main Street master plan. Any questions regarding any of the current projects before we move on? So we have talked extensively about CIP, right? And we talk about how CIP is in a 5-year cycle. When we're looking at the ongoing projects, there are a few projects that will need additional funding, just based on current estimates with the design. So the Public Works Building, International Bridge, and Stone Bridge appear to need additional funding to complete. But on our existing list, we have the Pennsylvania Extension, Fire Station number 4, Animal Shelter, City renovations, which include the EOC, City Hall, Fire Station number 3, and the Code Enforcement and Animal Control offices, the Training Tower, Domestic Violence Shelter, and then an allocation for park improvements. So based on the list that council approved a couple months ago already, those are the projects that we are looking at potentially moving forward. Now, as you can see, the total for those projects are just over $50 million. We do anticipate receiving other sources that could fund a portion of that amount. So we're looking at $46 million for projects. Now, there's different ways in which we could potentially fund some or all of these projects, and that's where we want to talk to council in executive session. But just to go over just a few quick points, when it comes to our existing debt, because unfortunately some or all of these projects will be funded through debt, and wanted to go over our debt schedule on why we set up this 5-year cycle. So we're on the last year of our current cycle, and you start to see that the payments start to decrease. I know it's kind of small there.
Can you do it like projected, because it's very
Yes.
small as it is.
So you see that the payments are going to go from 7.2 to 6.3 million, and they start dropping pretty rapidly, 5.7. And so that gives us capacity to borrow without taxpayers having to pay more. So in the ideal world, nobody has to pay more than they currently do to fund these projects. And right now, we feel that we do have capacity. The only variable that we have is interest rates, because interest rates are pretty high. It's just finding the ideal timing to do it. So when we're looking at our list, our CIP list, a lot of exciting projects, a lot of necessary projects, but we feel that we do have the capacity to achieve most of them. It's just how we do it that matters. This is mostly just for public knowledge. I know we've discussed this with council before as to the limits that we have regarding debt. Now, debt sometimes is it's a bad word sometimes, right? People don't like to hear the word about debt. But for cities, it is necessary. It is necessary for growth. And so the state has certain limits on debt, but the city has limits that are far below what the state requires. to make sure that debt never gets out of control for the city. So I wanted to start with the tax rate. So the tax rate currently for debt is 22 cents. Our policy caps it at 27 cents. State law caps it at $1.50. So we're way below state law, and we're within our internal policy. But we still have capacity if we needed to adjust that debt rate. When it comes to the actual total debt itself, there is no limit as per state law, but our policy caps it at $220 million. And currently, we have about $80 million, and that includes principal and interest. So yeah, there's capacity within our policy. And then percentage of budget. So again, state law does not have any restrictions on that. Our policy says that our debt cannot be more than 20% of our overall budget, and it's currently 12.7. So there is capacity to responsibly borrow if, that's the
needed.
wishes of council. Yes, so like I said, the recommendation is to take it.
Okay. Do we have a motion to take this into executive session? We do, by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, second by Councilman Garcia. Discussion, all in favor, unanimous. We'll discuss in executive session. 15, consideration and possible approval of change order number 1 for the Arrow Point Drainage Improvement Project to include an additional 3.2 cubic yards of concrete for a total of 4,480, revising the contract amount to 119,480. Mr. McGee?
Mayor, Council?
Yes, sir.
Dan McGee. Excuse me, City Engineer. This change order is being requested for some field modifications that had to be made. We needed to raise some of the flume walls a little bit higher to match the adjoining properties. And then at the end of the flume, where it meets the street, we had to make some corrections to change some of the sidewalks, the ADA components in there. That's where also the water is going through. Underneath the sidewalk, we put a steel plate, and then they had to be modified to fit the conditions in the street. So the original request from the contractor was almost $8,000. We negotiated, and then we're down to this amount.
Okay.
And we feel it's we're
Reasonable.
using the contract price. There was a bid price, so we think it's a very fair negotiation.
Fair enough. Do we have a motion to approve this change order?
Make a motion to
We have a
approve.
motion by Councilman Diaz, second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous. 16, consideration and possible approval, consideration and possible action on awarding/rejection of request for qualifications RFQ 2023-009 for professional services, independent accounting and audit services.
Yes, Mayor, Council. So we did receive 3 submissions from Carl Riggs Ingram, Garza Gonzalez and Associates, and Martinez Rosario and Company. With this, typically we do RFPs, and in this case, it's a request for qualifications. It's different as per state law because we're not allowed to ask for pricing. The decision is supposed to be made based on qualifications. So the committee did interview the firms. We did request references. There should be a packet. There's a blue heading on it, and the references are attached to the back. So we did discuss this. We did provide the rating sheet. I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of that one. So the references are attached. So after the discussions and the ratings, we did consult with management, with both Waterworks and with the city. And the recommendation is to select Garza Gonzalez and Associates. And the recommendation is to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute the agreement.
Right now, we have Carl Riggs.
Why, exactly, why we just hire them? Or they're not qualified?
Well, based on the provisions of the law, we're supposed to select the most qualified. So taking into consideration the references, taking into consideration the years of experience, that's what the grading system calls for. And so when we're comparing it based on that, the scoring.
Who grades them?
So we do this every year?
It depends on the contract of the company. So before that, we had a company with a longer contract. So last time, a council approved a 1-year contract. So that meant that we needed to go out for a selection of another company, which is what took us to this step.
I was noticing you don't have all the tabulations on everyone, and you're gonna leave us selected.
It should just be the cumulative.
It's not. That's missing.
You don't have this?
I don't have that either. You know, I have a question for legal. Can I make a motion to take it to executive session?
You can.
So moved.
And-
We have a motion to take this
I'll
item into
second.
executive session by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, a second by Councilwoman Cruz. Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
Can I, well, I'll ask an executive session.
17, consideration and possible action on awarding/rejection of request for qualifications RFQ 2023-014 for City of Eagle Pass Golf Course maintenance.
Mayor, just for the record, I would like to amend it. It's actually a request for proposal.
Request for proposal, not qualifications.
Correct.
Correct.
So no, duly noted.
Let me pull this up real quick. So we did receive one proposal from the Green Company for $487,456.48. There is some areas that have been identified that could reduce this cost. So the recommendation is actually to proceed with the awarding and authorize the city manager to negotiate the agreement, and hopefully to bring that cost down.
Okay. Negotiate and execute, or just negotiate and then we'll bring it back?
As you please. We can do either works.
Yeah. I think bring it back.
And again, yeah, I was, because I was going to ask, there's companies that have actually called to ask if we were going to have any bids when they already knew that we no longer are working with a management company. So I don't know, I couldn't tell them that it was already active, for bids. So is there still a possibility so that we can be fair to everyone and just receive more bids, or not anymore? Is it closed?
So the city could reject and we could reopen, but we cannot accept, just directly.
And then
Right.
Green Company can actually reapply again. We're not saying that we're denied. Just to give everyone an equal opportunity and have different options.
Well, they had an equal opportunity to apply and they didn't.
No,
It's
that's
not-
why
right,
I'm
right.
asking. I didn't know about so that I can call back and tell
Yeah.
them it's closed, or
It-
is it still open or not? That's.
Right now, it's closed, but we can reopen, but it's also their due diligence. They have to check. It's not our duty to let them know, hey, it's open, it's
Technically, we
closed,
can't
please.
be calling specific companies about it.
But
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. It's just that nobody saw, well, these people who called didn't see the publication. That's why I was asking what to tell them. I don't even know them myself. They just called.
Question, because I know back in the past, and I don't want to date myself here, but when we decided to start outsourcing, it was because of a cost comparison. I actually would like to see that again, because, we have stuff that we move for the thick of, and then here we are giving $500,000 contract for something that are, is this company familiar with golf courses? That's why we had changed to a management company. Now we're no longer with a management company, and we're going to outsource again. So, when we had staff that was already trained, and we were buying equipment for golf courses for the greens, and then we did away with them. So I just want to know where we're going with this, and I don't feel comfortable moving forward with this.
So, do we have
I don't know, I'm not saying to reject, but I would like some more information, because you're sort of like forcing us, you're telling us to approve it, but it's like, wait, you're not giving us all that.
You want to table this?
I have a question for legal concerning the contract. I have make a motion to take it to
Yes.
executive session.
Yes. Motion to take this into executive session by Councilman Garcia.
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Cruz. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous. We'll discuss in executive session. Executive session pursuant, 18, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Sections 551.071 and 551.072. Consultation with attorney and deliberations about real property regarding Thornton Detention Pond to discuss possible negotiations for land acquisition and return to open session for possible action. 19, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Sections 551.071 and 551.072. Consultation with attorney and deliberations about real property to discuss condemnation negotiations regarding a 46.35 acre tract of land located along the north side of Main Street conveyed to the estate of Jeremiah Rhodes, English Rhodes, and to return to open session for possible action. 20, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Section 551, 21.071, consultation with attorney regarding service agreement between the City of Eagle Pass and Maverick County for emergency medical and fire protection services, and return to open section for possible action. 21, the executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551, Sections 551.074 and 551.071, discussion of personnel and consultation with attorney concerning appointment/reappointment of municipal court judge and assistant municipal court judge through resolution, and return to open session and possible action. We are also taking items 16 and 17, correct? And 14 into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551, Section 551.071 and 551.072, consultation with an attorney regarding these items. We're going into executive session at 7:05 PM. We're coming back from executive session. It is 8:35 PM. We'll start with item 14, presentation, discussion, and possible action on capital improvement projects. This is an item that was discussed in executive session. Do we have a motion on this item? We discussed an item that we wanted to add.
I'll make a motion to move forward with adding that item to the list of the capital improvement projects.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, second by Councilwoman Cruz. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous. 16, consideration and possible action on awarding/rejection of request for qualifications, RFQ 2023-009 for professional services, independent accounting and audit services.
I'll make a motion to table the item.
I'll second.
We have a motion to table the item by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, a second by Councilwoman Cruz. Discussion, all in favor? We have 4 in favor, I'm against on this one. So 4 people, item tabled.
Yes.
Item 17, consideration and possible action on awarding/rejection of request for qualifications, RFQ 2023-014 for the City of Eagle Pass Golf Course maintenance.
I make a motion to negotiate a contract with Rick Green Company and bring it back to council.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Cruz.
Second. Go ahead.
Second by Councilman Garcia. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous. 18, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551, Sections 551.071 and 551.072, consultation with attorney and deliberations about real property regarding Thornton Detention Pond to discuss possible negotiations for land acquisition and return to open session for possible action.
I believe there is no action.
No action. 19, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551, Sections 551.071 and 551.072, consultation with attorney and deliberations about real property to discuss condemnation negotiations regarding a 46.35 acre tract of land located along the north side of Main Street conveyed to the estate of Jeremiah Inglis Rhodes, and return to open session for possible action. Do we need action on this one?
I make a motion to proceed with negotiations as discussed in executive session.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Cruz, a second by Councilman Garcia. All in favor? Unanimous. 20, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding service agreement between the City of Eagle Pass and Maverick County for emergency medical and fire protection services, and return to open session for possible action.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager to negotiate with Maverick County.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Davis and a second by Councilman Garcia. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous. 21, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551, Sections 551.074 and 551.071, discussion of personnel and consultation with attorney concerning appointment/reappointment of municipal court judge and assistant municipal court judge through resolution and return to open session for possible action.
I would like to make a motion to renew and execute contracts as director in executive session.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Cruz, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. Discussion. Congratulations. We're happy to have you both for,
Sorry to keep you waiting so long.
sorry. Discussion unanimous. There we go.
Congratulations again.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn by Councilwoman Cruz,
Second.
second by Mayor Pro Tem Davis. All in favor, unanimous. Meeting adjourned, 8:39 PM.